Welcome to today's lesson on 8.12a. Our lesson target is I will solve real-world problems comparing how interest rate and loan length affect the cost of credit. And then our do well is given 4 problems. I will solve real-world problems comparing how interest rate and loan length affect the cost of credit with 100% accuracy. So our vocab words are the same as they've been all week. Compound interest is when interest is taken on interest that's already been accumulated, as well as the principal. Simple interest is when interest is only taken on the principal. So our formulas are I is equal to P times R times T for simple interest. And if we have a problem with simple interest and we want to find the total amount, so that's A, we have to add the principal plus the earned interest. Then for compound interest, our formula is A is equal to P times 1 plus R raised to the power of T. So our formula is a little bit different, but using the same factors. And if we want to find the interest earned on a compound interest problem, we actually have to subtract the amount earned minus the principal to equal the interest earned. So as you can see, these two formulas are pretty similar, right? So if we have P plus I and we want to get the P to the other side, we would subtract P on both sides, and that's how we get this A minus P is equal to I. So the same variables in our equations include the principal, which is the starting amount, the interest rate, which is usually given as a percent, but we have to turn it into a decimal, and then time, which is usually for us going to be calculated in years. Sometimes we're going to be given months that we have to calculate or convert to years. Our first problem reads, 2 customers took out loans from a bank. Angelica took out a 3-year loan for $7,000 and paid 5% annual simple interest. So in this case, we have Angelica, and since it's a simple interest problem, we're using the formula I is equal to P times R times T. And then from there, we're going to plug in the numbers for each of the variables. So our principal is 7,000. Our interest rate is 5.2%, but as a decimal, that's 0.052. And lastly, our time is 3. So once we calculate this, we get 1,092. Okay, that's Angelica's interest earned on her loan. And then for Luis, he took out a 5-year loan for $7,000 and paid 4.9% annual simple interest. So his loan is for longer, his interest rate is for less, and it's on the same amount. So we have Luis. We're using the same formula. I is equal to P times R times T. And we're going to plug in the numbers again. So our principal is 7,000. Our interest rate as a decimal is going to be 0.049. And lastly, our time is 5. So we have 7,000 times 0.049 times 5, and that gives us 1,715. So from this example, we can see that Luis actually paid more in interest, even though he had a lower interest rate on the same amount, because he was paying more interest since the time was longer. He has his loan out for longer. So this kind of goes to prove the point that a shorter loan, even with a little bit of a higher interest rate, will actually be less overall in terms of the total amount you owe, because the interest gains on this is less. Okay, from here, the question is, what is the difference between the amounts of interest Angelica and Louise paid? So I know that difference means we're going to have to subtract. So Louise's is bigger. So we have 1,715 minus 1,092. And that gives us $623. So that is the difference between the two loans, or the amount of interest for the two loans. Okay, for this next problem, it says Markel needs a $3,000 loan for home repairs. Which loan option should he choose to pay the least amount of interest? So we have option A, an 18-month loan with a 5.75 annual interest rate. And so starting with this one, I want to convert this 18 months into years. So I know that 12 months are in a year. So then I'm going to divide 18 divided by 12, and that gives me 1.5 years. So 18 months is equal to 1.5 years. And that's the number that we're actually going to plug into our equation. So for this problem, we're just going to use the simple interest formula. So it's I is equal to P times R times T. So we have I is equal to, principal is 3,500. Rate in this case, 5.75 as a decimal is 0.0575. And then our time is going to be 1.5, not the 18. So once I calculate this out, I get that the interest is going to be $301.88. But I still have to calculate it for the other loan options or the loan terms. So for B, it says a 30-month loan with a 5% annual interest rate. So 30 months is equal to 2.5 years, or 2.5 years. So I got that by dividing 30 by 18. So instead of plugging 30 in as a time, I'm going to actually plug 2.5 in. So for the next loan option, we have I is equal to P times R times T. We're plugging in the 3,500 for the principal. And then 5% as a decimal is 0.05. And then our time is 2.5, because our time has to be in years, even though it was given to us in months. So if we calculate this, we get that the interest was $437.50. So $437.50. Okay, on to the next option. We have a 24-month loan with 5.25 annual interest rate. So 24 months I know is 2 years, because 24 divided by 12 is 2. So I'm going to do the same thing that I have been doing, plugging in the principal, the interest rate, and the time to figure out what the interest earned is. So we have 3,500. The interest rate is 5.25, but as a decimal, that's 0.0525. And then our time is going to be 2, because 24 months is equivalent or equal to 2 years. So once we calculate this, we get $367.50. Okay, on to our last loan option. It's a 36-month loan with 5.5% annual interest rate. So 36 months is equal to 3 years. 36 divided by 12 is 3. So from here, I'm going to use my equation. Interest is equal to principal times rate times time. So then plugging in 3,500. The interest rate is 5.5. So as a decimal, that's 0.055. And lastly, 3 as the time. If I calculate this out, I'm going to get $577.50. So which loan option should you choose to pay the least amount of loan, or to pay the least amount of interest on the loan is what I mean. And if we compare all the different interest amounts for the different loans, we can see that it's clear that he should choose option A, the 18th month loan, which is also the least amount of time, even though it has the highest interest rate, because interest is not being calculated for as long as the other loans. So he would be saving money on this 18th month loan with 5.75 annual interest rate. There's some we do problems and then some you do problems. And finally, your 4-question Google form DOL. Thank you so much for following along in today's math lesson, and see you in the next math video.